Greetings to you this 20th day of March 2022. Hear the word of the Lord this morning. It's a familiar passage, a few verses from John chapter 3, beginning to read at verse 16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him. He who believes in him is not condemned, but whoever does not believe stands condemned already, because he has not believed in the name of God's one and only Son. This is the verdict. Light has come into the world, but men loved darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil. Everyone who does evil hates light and will not come into the light for fear that those deeds will be exposed. But whoever lives by the truth has no fear of coming into the light, so that it may be plainly seen that what he has done has been done through God. This is the word of the Lord. John chapter 3, verse 16 is a very, very familiar passage, or familiar set of verses. It's been quoted so many times. It contains the essence of the love story that God has for us. Love is an amazing thing. It is what brings people together. It's what brings nations together. It's what brings communities together. Or is it? It must not be an easy thing to accomplish, because if it was easy, it would happen already. If it was easy, we could put an end to wars. If it was easy, we could put an end to conflict. But it's not easy. God demonstrated his love for us, that while we were yet sinners, Christ, his Son, died for us. I'm enthralled by this passage, and I know it. John 3:16 is one of those verses that you learn early in life. But John 3:16 talks about love to a degree that is actually the highest. Love of the highest possible degree. There's no higher love than the love of Jesus. There's no higher love than the love of God, who sent his Son Jesus to die for us. It's higher than the love of the church. It's higher than the greatest understanding of theologians and religious experts. It's higher than the latest country and western song. It's higher than the love songs of the 70s. It's higher than any other kind of love. It is love of the highest extent. It is love of the greatest extent. There is no further love than the love of God. You can't wait for another kind of love to arrive. It doesn't matter how far into history we go back or how far into history we go forward. There's no way that we will find a greater extent of love than what is described in John 3:16. And it is love of the longest duration, the highest degree, the greatest extent, and the longest duration. There's no longer love than the love of God. It lasts forever. It lasts longer than the years of our lives. It lasts forever because it came from everlasting and it goes to everlasting. The love of God is manifested in this, that in sending Jesus, he did not send Jesus to condemn us. He sent Jesus to demonstrate his love for us. The Apostle Paul picks up on this in 1 Corinthians 13 as he talks to the church in Corinth, and then he talks to us about this tremendous love. In fact, in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, it's a passage that I usually read while officiating weddings, but you know it well. It talks about love of the greatest extent. It talks love of the highest degree. It talks about love of the longest duration, demonstrated by Jesus and lived out by us. 1 Corinthians 13, and I'm not going to read it now, but it reminds us that without love, all that we say is ineffective. Now, I found these notes in my Bible, and usually I'm pretty copious at making notes when I hear other people preach, so this is probably not original with me. So whoever it was that shared these thoughts, I give you the credit, but I think it's good to pass it along. Without love, all that we say is ineffective. If I speak with the tongues of men and angels, and I do not have love, then I'm only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. I've heard a lot of clanging cymbals in my life, and so have you. Without love, all that we say is ineffective. Without love, all that we know is incomplete. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, but I don't have love, I have nothing. Without love, all that we know is actually incomplete. Knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. There's a big, big difference there. Without love, all our faith is insufficient. If I have faith that can move mountains, but I don't have love, I am nothing. Without love, our faith, even our faith is insufficient. Without love, all that we give is insignificant. If I give all that I possess to the poor, but I don't have love, I gain nothing. And without love, all that we accomplish is inadequate. Even if I surrender my body to the flames and I don't have love, then it's nothing. And then in the opening line of chapter 14 of 1 Corinthians, Paul continues. He says, follow the way of love and eagerly desire the spiritual gifts. Love is the ingredient of life that actually must be captured in the moment of salvation. It's one of those things that is put into us during the miracle. It becomes the litmus test of our genuine Christian faith. It's different than peace. Peace is a contract. I guess love, to some degree, is a contract as well. If you read 1 Corinthians 13, and I do encourage you to read that today. But the contractual arrangement of peace means that, well, we'll stop conflict and we'll come to a negotiated settlement. Arriving at a negotiated settlement to accomplish peace does not always mean that there is love involved. It just might mean that there's common sense involved. It just might mean that there's rationale involved. But you can have peace without love. You can't have love without peace. The contractual arrangements when it comes to love, long before it's manifested in our partnership and relationship with each other here on earth, it is established in our relationship with God. We've just celebrated St. Patrick's Day. What a great day that is. But it's a day that, like many other celebrations, has lost its luster because many people are removed from its essence. St. Patrick, of course, was not Irish. I think by now most would already know that. He was a young boy growing up in a pretty wealthy family in Great Britain. And there was a group of men who came over from Ireland, which was often the case, to launch raids on the mainland of Great Britain. During one of those raids, Patrick, Saint Patrick, as we've come to know him, was taken by the marauders back to Ireland, where he was held in captivity. And in that captivity, one of his tasks was to look after the sheep. And during that time, after many years, he found his way back to the mainland via Europe, where an angel had spoken to St. Patrick, reminding him of a conversion experience he had had while in captivity. And the angel suggested to this young man, maybe you should go back to the people who took you and abused you and serve them. Can't think of a better description of love than that. I can't think of a better description of a wonderful way to demonstrate full and complete forgiveness and transformation, to go back to the people who took you, to go back to the people who had abused you, to go back in the power of human desire to serve a people, but also in the power of love. Listen to part of St. Patrick's prayer, only part. It's actually the end. Christ be with me, Christ within me, Christ behind me, Christ before me, Christ beside me, Christ to win me, Christ to comfort me, Christ above me, Christ beneath me, Christ restore me, Christ in quiet, Christ in danger, Christ in all the hearts of all that love me, Christ in mouth of friend and stranger. St. Patrick wanted to have the love of Jesus in his life in a way that it was unmistakable, that he wasn't just coming as another false prophet with a message of hope upon which he could not deliver. No, after many, many years of training and preparing for ministry, he was then dispatched by the church back to Ireland, where he became its patron saint. Maybe today we have faith, maybe today we have hope, and maybe today we have love. That's a great shamrock trinity. But Paul says the greatest of these is love. God bless. We'll look forward to seeing you again next Sunday. Bye for now.